Good morning, traders. So my morning brief video here real quick. So guys, what we got going on here. This is the weekly webs. It shows it right up here in the upper corner. It's a market webs using volume profile. Okay, and so we basically last week we put in a double distribution. We had a lot of value before the election and then a whole lot of value after the election for a double distribution. And what the software does, it tries to find the average between the two and give you the weekly point of control, which drops way down here where the breakout level was. So we're getting a little distortion here on the ESs this morning or this week where the point of control is. Okay, so what you have to do because of the double distribution, use the mindset, disregard everything for the election. And what that does, it gives us that point of control right here at the last week's value area high. Okay, so basically we came into this week with the point of control actually being right at value area high, which stayed defended so far this week. Okay, and what we're currently doing is we are building out higher value at last Friday's close. Okay, and that is developing to be the new point of control for this current week. So heads up on that. We're going into today. For you option traders, the edge, you don't have an edge directional either way because you are at the developing point of control going into today's session. And that's actually Friday's close too. It's setting up right here, right now, to be a doji week on the ESs. So, we're right there at Friday close, potentially be a doji week on the week. So be very mindful of that. Okay, we go down into smaller time frames now, 30-minute. That's our daily webs. And as you can see, uh, at 2 o'clock this morning, we found buyers off of this downward trend line, and we're migrating higher. Bias does seem to be to the upside initially this morning. We do have PPI coming out in a few hours. Okay, so be very mindful of that. Right at Friday's close, so that's the developing point of control for the current week. Okay, so like I said, there's no really any edge to the bullish side or the bearish side where we are opening right here, right now in the markets. So be mindful of that. And we've found a lot of uh, uh, fair value gaps that have been rejecting so far this week. We got one up here around the 6034 area. And so basically 6034 was the opening anchor VWAP Sunday night. And we have not been able to manage to hold a bid above that so far. So as far as price discovery goes, in my opinion, we really have to get above 6035 to be looking for price discovery to new all-time highs. And we're currently not doing that. We're just seem to be digesting sideways currently. And we'll see what happens here. But so far, we continue. This is the fourth higher high, higher low, higher low building out here. This here was last week's, uh, post-election point of control. Okay, so we're trying to decide whether or not we want to have value build higher, which is what we currently do, or if last week's uh, value area or point of control is as a more relevant uh, price action. So the markets are really trying to decide here. We're kind of stuck right between a rock and a hard place right now. Based on the price action so far this week, it's more likely that we come back down here than go higher until proven otherwise. So we'll definitely keep this on watch. But our last major economic data point, PPI this morning, get that behind us. They might just short squeeze us higher. It's hard to say. So definitely keep this at watch. Remember, guys, S&Ps are at 100-year resistance. So we have two spots from 1927 and the 2000 tech bubble that we came into this level. And what happened was when we got into this zone, this trend line zone, it took 3 months to work our way out of it and then finally resolve lower. So the idea that we're just going to come crashing back down because we're right into this 100-year resistance, that's a little bit ludicrous. Okay. So that's, you have to look for both sides of the trade where we're currently trading at. So be very mindful of that. Okay, similar situation here. So we have what happened this week. We had all kinds of volume last week hit right here at the highs. Okay, on NQs, suggesting a lot of profit taking up here at the top. That is what we're getting, what we were suggesting here on tech. So be very mindful in the back of your mind that this big rally up, that hey, maybe they want to be taking top profits. As you can see, the point of control for this week, based off of last week's volume, it didn't come back down. Okay, it closed right here at the highs. So there was a much more volume in Techland at the highs than what we saw on the S&Ps. Okay, so be very mindful of that. Suggesting there may have been more profit taking happening, but at these recent highs on tech. Okay, so be very mindful of that. If you zoom in here, okay, and what we got going on here, okay, guys. So the value area high is acting as resistance. So we're back inside of last week's trading range. Unlike the S&Ps, S&Ps are trying to break out of last week's trading range. Okay, so that's why this is more suggestive of a major profit-taking area in the NASDAQ. Okay, we're currently trading below last week's point of control. So we're really on the bearish side of last week's inventory. The point of control, there was large money orders that hit at this point of control. Okay, and we're currently trading below that, suggesting a profit-taking scenario in Techland. So be mindful of that in your trading going forward here. Okay. Uh, so we're kind of in a wedging formation. Uh, so that's just a few takeaways that I got going on here. Uh, so far, support is holding. We're trading above support, but we are below that big volume that hit last week. So that's giving us a little edge. So you're getting a little mixed read here on Techland. Okay. You zoom here on the daily. What do we got going on here? Okay. So we are neutral on yesterday's inventory. That's this blue line is the most volume hit on yesterday's inventory at this blue line. Okay, so we're neutral versus yesterday's, and we currently seem to be walking down the inventory just slightly, ever so slightly, which it may continue, it may not continue. I'm still of the belief it's more likely that we close a doji on NQs than anything else, and that's actually the point of control for last week. Uh, so there's a couple things there. The Friday close is a big magnet. So, my bias to close the week is we're going to be closing near the Friday close, barring some sort of external news event. Okay, so just be very mindful of that. But like I said, we're inside of last week's value on NQs, which is completely different than what we have on the ESs here. So be very mindful of that, showing some relative weakness here in NQs this week. And this is the delta areas of the market. So basically, they use delta to push us up into these highs, and they're actually showing the weakness. So, are is the other areas in the market just doing catch up for the next leg higher? I don't know. Okay, we'll see. 1 hour real quick. Start with the 1 hour here. The Russell guys. So the Russell, similar situation, similar profile. Post-election, volume point of control migrated up with price. Huge volume up here at those highs. We continued higher this week, uh, trying to push higher. We couldn't. We are currently. We did lose the back into last week's value area up here at these highs. Okay, so far, and we're back to the point of control from last week. So the highest point of volume, we're back testing it right here, right now. Uh, so basically, we're to the neutral area from last week's inventory. So it's not directional. It doesn't give you any type of edge to be putting trades on. So we'll see what happens here. This is acting the weakest of the big tech. So be very mindful of this, acting quite weak relative to the big tech. And of course, this is the one that ran up the highest on the news, and it's acting the weakest uh, currently this week. So be very mindful of that. I don't remember if I did YM. Dow Jones, yeah, 1 hour. So this is the point of control right here. It did migrate just like Nasdaq and the Russell. They both migrated higher on strong volume. We held. This is a bullish pattern, and we are trying to push out above of last week's value area. So it's showing a little bit more relative strength versus the Nasdaq or the Russell so far this morning. So we'll see how it all plays out. We have lost an upper distribution. We look above. This could be very well be an exhaustion high. Could very well possibly be that. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that, and we have seen what we've got going on here. This here on the 1 hour. You see how wick candle right there? Okay, by putting that wick in there, that is acting as resistance. So we know this area right here is very important to get through. Very dangerous area to be trying to go long the markets. Yeah, this has proven to be resistance. Anywhere up in this area, you fade. You tend to fade these areas based on prior uh, price action. So be very mindful of that in today's trading. Now, as far as this morning goes, Amazon is continuing higher. It is a beast. Okay, top of my list, Nvidia's up here. We had ASML came out this morning. Really good chart pattern here. So basically, ASML, you see we're gapping up this morning on ASML. We had good earnings and good guidance. If you go out here on the bigger time frame, the daily, ASML is actually monthly webs, so monthly value. We are actually opening up inside value area low. This could have legs. We want to see 688 become new support. So 688 has to become new support for ASML, but it does typically you're looking to buy value area lows for swing trades on these longer time frames. So be very mindful of that. And we're breaking out of last week's trading range. We have an untested point of control. Very good chance that, given the earnings, that we'll probably get 708 today for the test of this untested volume point of control. And there is a gap there. Okay, not saying for sure it'll happen today, but we do have a gap fill right above us here. So there's a lot of reason to think that this thing will continue in today's session. So be very mindful of that. The semis in general are catching a bid from the ASML good news. So I'm looking at some of the other semis to possibly get a relief rally today. SMH has really been taking it on the chin. As you can see, last week's, versus we had this big rally last week, and we've given virtually all of it back. Okay, we came down to value area low from last week's inventory, and they're coming back up here. So, so be very mindful here. A back test. The 250, 150 is probably in the cards here. See what happens here in today's session. But this is the area you're looking to buy to go long. Semis in a bullish tape. So basically, yesterday was the day to be looking to go long semiconductors. So be very mindful of that. And then, of course, you had to do that before the ASML numbers hit to get in the ideal positioning. Okay, and so a lot of these have been hit, like Micron. Micron's way down here into a multiple bottom. Okay, so I was actually looking at this to the long side. It's already come back up and did the back test this morning. So you're into a multiple bottom on the micron here. Uh, bunch of uh, bunch of weekly value area lows here. You know, looking like this thing could continue get a little bit of legs here on micron. There's a pivot right here. We haven't actually come down into that pivot yet. Looks like they've been supporting it a little bit higher, the pivot a little bit higher. So that's really on my watch here is possibly micron being by the dip. Other ones that I was looking at, ADI. See, all of these have really been getting hit. ADI should rally a little bit today. We got a double bottom right here on ADI. Let's see here, what were the other ones? Give me a second. Lamb Research. This one here looks like buy the dip. So this definitely keep this one on watch. A possibility for Lamb Research. It's one of the chief competitors or for ASML. Intel Corporation's in the space too. Intel Corporation, there you go. Not nearly as bullish on this one, but we are defending above 2430. It's probably still long. We might be a little bit late to the party on that one. So yeah, some of these semis just might outperform today, so be very mindful of that. AMD is really taking it on the chin here lately too. We're at a major support area, so be very mindful of that. This area right here is really critical support. You don't want AMD going down any lower, so be very mindful of that. But yeah, like I said, the cues are on the bearish side of last week's trend. So keep all this in context. This little pop this morning in ASML, all this can be faded early on this morning if they want to. So definitely keep that in context, okay? I don't know for sure if I'm going to be long or short this morning, but I'm getting mixed reads. The biggest warning is, in my opinion, the Nasdaq. So we definitely got to keep that on watch and see if they continue to support prices at this very critical juncture. Please like my video if you get a chance. Retweet me on Twitter, Gumby9662C, and comments below are appreciated on the YouTube channel. Appreciate it, and hopefully this will help you guys a little bit. And I do think Palantir is into a major resistance. So be very mindful of this. I do think Palantir is into a major resistance. I can't remember which one was showing. Yeah, weekly. Yeah, look at this weekly candle here on Palantir. This could very easily be coming out of favor next week. Heads up on that. That one really showed up. Oh, MSTR also. Look at that. MSTR. Look at that crap out there on MSTR. And if you go on the daily, see how we're right here at this value area low. I'm telling you, you're losing the 325. We start losing 325, it gets really interesting on MSTR to the downside. So be mindful of that. Those are a couple of the charts that I saw that really stood out. Your big ones here, Apple. You're just kind of in no man's land here. Microsoft. Yeah. You see how we got these weekly wicks right here. We've already tried to push up once. I would really think that it's more likely to fail than push up at this point. So, and then NVIDIA catching an early bid here, just digesting sideways, waiting for the earnings to report here. But Amazon's the big one here. Amazon had a 2-hour squeeze yesterday, and it just rocket shipped up. There's really no reason to think, and we're into the area that moves fast. I think there's a good chance we could be seeing 220 today, and may possibly even close in the week at near 228. So be very mindful what's going on here. We could be in a big rocket ship move here on Amazon this week. Okay, thanks.